Okay, what we're working on today is a 2001 Buick Sabre. And these Buicks, like other GM cars, the battery's under the back seat. Anyway, this battery leaked and it actually rusted the floorboard out. So, got to fix this. Plan on this being a no weld repair. So, I got a piece of metal here from a Cadillac DeVille. Here is the piece from that DeVille that will fix this. As you see, it's pretty good shape. The DeVilles usually need to go to the boneyard at an early age because the North Star engines are, let's just say, they're not desirable. Especially the earlier ones. So anyway, yes, the DeVille has the same floorboard as a Sabre in these years. So I gotta trim everything up and make this fit in there. So after I cleaned up the surface rust with a wire brush, I took some of this acid here and I used it on the metal to make a phosphoric coating, I believe it is, on the metal, and to prevent it from re-rusting. I will later paint this with some Ace Hardware paint. I can't remember the exact name, but I'll paint over top of it all the repair pieces with that, and I'll put a mat down to absorb battery acid in the future, prevent any future corrosion due to battery acid. As you can see, I coated these surfaces too. That's why it has the blackish look on them. Well, this is what the floorboard looks from underneath. Yeah, this is going to be fun. So what I've been doing is making a series of smaller cuts, trying to fit this piece in. Just little baby steps here, trying to get this to fit without removing too much. Need to make a small cut here where the line is. See this line. Cut this out all the way down to here, like this, so this will fit flush up under there. Anyway, I was able to get this piece off. The ideal here is to take this vertical piece and actually bolt it to the vertical piece that's still on the car. And that will hold this floor piece up under there tightly. I can go around the perimeter and drill holes and bolt it in place. So I trimmed a little more here and also removed this body plug and all this stuff here. I do have to remove this part of the battery hold down. Since the one on the vehicle is actually in good shape, this metal will not fit under there flush and tight up against the floorboard as long as this is in the way. So that's got to go. So I managed to liberate this piece here. So we're getting there. Got some more to go. Yeah, getting closer. Got this piece here off. Only have to worry about this little piece right here right now. As you can see, the metal's under there. There's more trimming required, but you can see where I'm going to bolt it there to this vertical piece. This is the battery hold down right here. And this is the wall that separates the front of the seat from behind the seat where the battery's at. And you can see what it looks like on this side. Needs a little more adjusting to get it to fit in there right. You can see here the metal up underneath there. Like I said, it's not flush, but it's getting close. As you can see, I just liberated another piece right there. I think I gotta go a little farther down though. It's kind of hard to cut that off on a curve without damaging or nicking the metal underneath of it. Yes, that made a big difference. It's fitting pretty good. Still needs a little bit of work though. It's gonna get there. So I was able to remove this thin piece of metal right here where the floor overlapped. Started back here. I was able to get the vice grips on it good and just started twisting, and it popped these spot welds right off. It went all the way around there, and there it is. I just trimmed this and then removed that piece. That's doesn't need to have that point on there. Gives it a lot better shape there. So the only holdup I'm having right now is right here. This little piece here has to come out through here. I need a smaller diameter cutoff wheel to get in that tight spot. So it is what it is. So I got this trouble corner here. What I decided to do was make a series of slots along this, as you can see, like this. And I am going to try to pop those off and just bend them back, and I can cut them off or break them off at this point. So this should do it. Don't have to run in town to get anything. That weakened the metal enough, I was able to grab them with the vice grips and just bend it back and forth until it cracked. Now I can take the grinder and I can simply clean this edge up right here. So that'll do it. Well, I got those off of there. Probably do a little more beautification on it later. I'm gonna see if it fits. Well, looky there. Look at that, pushing a little bit. A pretty good fit. See, goes around this body plug good. It needs a little more tweaking, but yeah, that looks real good. So here's what it looks like on the inside. Like I said, a little tweaking. Yeah, get down in there. Looking pretty good, I would say. I have do a little more trimming. I radius the edges, deburred it. Looking pretty good. Had a little bit of blistering, and there's just a little bit of rust under, so skimmed over it. Got a little more to go. This is looking pretty good though. Yep. Still have some trimming I need to do here, and a little bit more of this rust right here needs to go. As you see here, there's a little bit of a variation between the Cadillac DeVille and this Buick LeSabre. This upright piece here is a little different. This is one piece that wraps around. This is two. I'll trim it right here so this will fit a little, tighter here. I'll fix it. Here I wedged some dimensional lumber underneath the patch to hold it in place while I mark the top where I need to make a few cuts. So right here where you see this mark at vertically, there's a little ridge, so I need to cut this down a little bit with the panel, because this is the line that I had scribed around the panel. And anyways, there's a little bit of a hollow area here, so I'm going to trim the panel down a little bit lower below this ridge, so there's no place for water and stuff to collect and cause rusting in the future. So I made two notches here so I could bend this in slightly, and I removed this piece right here. It was just causing a lot of trouble, and it was right up against the back, and I wouldn't have been able to actually bolt this on. So I just cut it off. Here you can see the ridge a little better where I had trimmed the patch panel down under those ridges. It goes in a lot easier since I trimmed that piece there off of the floor pan patch. Here you can see where I cut the notches. This has to be bent a little bit so it fits a little tighter there. We'll get it done. So here I took this piece right here and I bent it in a little. And I'm going to straighten it out a little bit at the top so I could come back and be close to the top so I can bolt it in the car. There we go. We got it bent. Now I can bolt that vertical piece to the vertical piece on the car. And then I can attach it the patch around the perimeter. Should be a good patch. No welding. Well, you know you have a good fitting patch when when it doesn't want to come out. Even when it's not bolted, it's got a good snug fit. You have to work it out of there. So I use my spring-loaded center punch to put a couple dimples in here. I'm going to drill this out. Well, I got those 2 bolts in. Those are 1/4 20. That's holding it up. Let's do the trick. So I decided to put an extra bolt here. So anyway, I used the needle nose right here, pulled this up tight, and then clamped that on there. I'm going to drill that out. Okay, it's fitting really good. As you see, it's pretty tight. Snug over here. A little bit of flex there to get the bolts in, but it will fit flat. I have to trim it a little bit here to bring it back, make it fit better. Here the panel is, it's bolted on. It's temporarily bolted on at the moment because I'm going to trim it along this black line right here. I'm going to deburr all the holes and paint everything, and then caulk it down with seam sealer. It's looking good. So you may be wondering about the bolt size. These are 1/4 20 with these nuts, which I'm not even using these nuts. They were 39 cents, and I still have bolts left over. So it's like 20 cents worth of bolts bought bulk at the local, farm store. If I would have used smaller bolts, I would have had to buy them in a pack of so many. It would have been, $2.99, $3.99, $4, whatever, $5 versus 20 cents for these bolts. So, and I can put some torque on these if I need to. I mean, it fits good. These are just grade 2. It doesn't have to be grade 5 or 8. There's no reason for it. It just needs to, hold it in place. So most of these bolts will probably be, the head of the bolt will be underneath the car, and I will use the locking nuts on top. And then I will cut off the excess bolt that's not needed, and then just put the carpet down over top of it. It'll be good. Here you see these 2 bolts here will actually be underneath the battery, and I wanted to make sure they cleared. I don't want the battery rubbing on it, and possibly rubbing a hole through it. As you see, it clears. The battery sits here, and it actually will clear right over top of that. Here's that patch panel here. I already trimmed it here where I had it marked, made it a little shorter so it fit better. I'm getting ready to take this larger bit here and deburr all these holes right here. That's the next step. There's our project car there. It's got a few cobwebs, and it's dusty. I'm being parked under this shade tree. Yeah, it's been kind of a ongoing project here. Been pretty busy. Anyway, here's our floor repair panel. I trimmed a little more off this edge right here, and I gave it a paint job with some Ace Hardware Rust Stop paint. I've used it before. It seems to be okay. I decided, since it had a few little rust specks here and there, which I used rust cutter acid on it. Let that dry. I spray a little more on there. Let that dry. So, it takes time. Then I had to scrub it clean to get all the white film off that's left behind on metal that's not rusted. Cleaned it good with alcohol. I gave it a very light coat of paint, and I went back and I sanded it with some fine paper, really very fine, and then I gave it another coat. It's brushed on, so it's ready to be bolted in place. And here's the sealant I'm using. It's polyurethane door and window siding. So this is similar to the kind of sealant that manufacturers use on lap joints, and it works real well. That should last a long time. This car is, you know, a 2001. It already has 201,000 on it. This, you know, except for this section here where the battery leaked and it rusted the floorboard, it's good. It doesn't really have any other issues with rust, so it runs good. And we need to get it on the road because, you know, it is a lot more fuel efficient than anything else that I have. So, and I've had similar cars like this, Bonnevilles and different cars with the 3.8, and I've been able to get up to, you know, 37 miles per gallon. And people that own these cars understand. Other people probably don't believe that, but if you've ever had one of these 3.8, you know, series 1 or 2 engines, I don't know about the older ones, but I'm assuming they probably are fairly efficient, and they make decent power. I like them. And unfortunately, GM decided to stop production in '09, which I thought was a stupid move, but you know, it is what it is. Here's what it looks like underneath since I some more trimming and painted. I also use the rust cutter and Ospro on the flat areas, which are also, Ospro is also an acid, and the same thing, it leaves a white film you have to scrub off that will develop on metal that's not rusted. It's a chemical reaction, you know, only with rust. So you can see a few cobwebs there. Well, maybe you can't actually see them in the video, but yeah, it's been a long process. It needs to get done though. Installed it there. This was one bolt. It's a trial fit. As you can see here where I trimmed along this edge, so it's not right here. So it fits tighter, you know, along here than it does in this curve, so that's good. The other side fits nice and snug. So I'm going to put some more bolts in it and make sure there's not any more adjustments I need to make before I commit to using the sealant. So here's our trial fitting. Looks pretty good. Got these 1/4 bolts holding it up. That's what I plan on using. Well, I got some locking nuts. It can be removed easy enough. Once that sealant's on there, you have to pry it off, but it would come off. Here's what the battery tray looks like from the top. You can see my repair panel here in the original Cadillac color, which is just like a silver. And here's what the front looks like. You can see where the hole was. Right here where you see the silver. This is where, you know, so I need to mark this so I know where to put my adhesive. I want to put it, you know, on this outside edge. Also on the inside, in case any water gets spilled on the floor, it doesn't work its way underneath and just sit there and not dry. So this here panel is the panel in front of the bottom of the seat. So this will be where you put your feet, and behind this is where the battery is, which is under the rear seat. This is on the passenger side. It's not a bad situation. I mean, it does help to balance the weight on the car somewhat, but unfortunately when the batteries leak, well, they cause trouble, and most batteries will leak, some more than others. And this one must have had a doozy. This is the type of nut I'm using on that. It's a pinch nut with a captured washer. It won't back off. Keep it on there. It has some sort of, you know, anti-rust coating on them, zinc chromate or whatever it is. These should work pretty good, and no, I don't need any separate lock washers, which are hard to fumble around if you're under the car trying to put them on top of a bolt, then a nut on top of that, and a washer. Or there, I've painted that section of floor there with the Ace Hardware rust stop paint, and you can see where the 1/4 20 bolts are there on this side. This will be the floorboard section in front of the rear seat on the passenger side. And behind here would be where the battery sits. And you can see I've left a couple bolts there. I thought they might be good attachment points for maybe a battery isolator and other components I will probably put in here later. You can see there I've cut those bolts off. And you can see where the floor is all painted up nice. It's ready for the battery to go in. Well, I mean, after I put some piece of rubber and a pig mat underneath of it, then it's ready. Here you can see what the patch panel looks underneath with the seam sealer. Yeah, it's a little messy. There is seam sealer between the panels, and what you see here is just what's squeezed out, and I spread it out with my finger to make it smooth. I want a bunch of globs under here. It's sealed up good. It's going to make a good, it's definitely a good repair. So, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I do have an upcoming future video of a 3.8 liter GM engine that is locked up. So we will find out what's wrong with it. So stay tuned.